which is guest introduction and speeches. Let me do a time check, 10:30. How are we doing on time?
You're right on.
Oh, okay, so it's good. What do you say, Jim?
It's up to us not to overrun your schedule.
Oh, no worries, no worries. It's all a friendly crowd here. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the guests sequentially. Okay, so once that guest is introduced, I think it would be good, for that guest to come, be in the hot stand, I guess, hot seat, and share, your experiences in your role there. So let's start with Captain Jim Jones, friend and neighbor from our community.
Jim Thomas.
Sorry, Jim Thomas. So yeah, that's the, I guess, that's the situation we run into. The names are Jim, right? So two Jims here.
All the time.
I like this hat. You didn't wear your hat. Your cap. Anyway, so Jim is a retired computer architect and a proud U.S. Army veteran. His time is occupied by reading and by his family, his loving wife Sue. I see her walking the dogs all the time. And then Jim mowing his lawn and doing other stuff. A daughter and son-in-law, a son and daughter-in-law, and 4 beautiful grandchildren. He's very active in his church, Bethany United Methodist Church. And in his free time, this is an interesting one, he enjoys playing with trains, a model railroading hobby in G and N gauges. Maybe when you come up, you can describe that a little bit, Jim. It'd be interesting. So with that, Jim, I'll let you have the stand. And please.
If you don't mind, I'll go ahead standing behind the podium. My name is Jim Thomas. It's a real joy for me to be here with you. It's something that veterans look forward to every year, a celebration of Veterans Day. And we're honored that you all chose this opportunity to honor us in the service of all who have worn the uniform in service of the United States of America. A little bit of history. I was an undergraduate and graduate student at Rice University in Houston, and I participated in the Reserve Officer Training Corps, ROTC, and that's how I got commissioned to be into the Army. At the point in time, I didn't really realize, but one of the beauties that I couldn't help but notice in your slide, you mentioned a couple times, the power of community. And I think if you talk to any veteran, you'll discover that of all of the things that we've seen and done around the world and down the street, it's the community that we remember the most of all of the people that we've served with. A real opportunity to bind together in a common purpose, something like the IAAA here. The opportunity to get to know one another closely, and it's important for us to always be in remembrance. One of the things that you'll hear at any veterans gathering, at some point in there, you'll hear the expression, a toast to our absent friends. Those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country. I am honored to be here as a living representative of those, and I want you to remember fondly all of those who have carried out the commitment that we made when we swore to the Constitution of the United States that we would serve foreign and domestic and potentially the ultimate sacrifice. I'm a veteran of the Vietnam War in 68 through 72. In that period of time, we lost 60,000 of my fellow veterans. A period that was not even matched by our continued battles in Iraq and Afghanistan. But all of those deserve our honor and our respect, and we want you to hold them in your hearts. One of the things that Rajesh asked me was, would I wear my uniform? And I said proudly, and take just a moment to describe to you what you see in the uniform. In my Army career of 10 years, I think we lived in 8 different places. So that meant that we moved into a new group pretty regularly. And you always want to make that excellent first impression. And one of the things that veterans do is that they use the opportunity to get to know one another by looking at the uniform. In my case, I was a captain in the U.S. Army Signal Corps, the crossed flags. We used technology from the old-fashioned kind of telephones. My guys in the communications hut would still use the old cable switchboard kind of thing. I also had another part of my unit that had satellite communications. So the military has tried very hard to keep up with technology. And that is the thing that this Signal Corps is responsible for. I'll leave it to the other guests to describe some of the ways that they've used or seen in operation technology. But the important thing that I want to talk a minute about is what we call our fruit salad. You can see Jim when he comes up here, he's not in uniform, but he's wearing his fruit salad. That tells you an awful lot about the individual you're talking to. In my particular case, I have awards here from my service in Vietnam, from my service in Germany, and my service in the Army in general. The senior award that I received was a Bronze Star for operations in Vietnam. You'll also see that Jim and I share the Meritorious Service Medal, which I received for working in the headquarters of the U.S. Army in Germany. We enjoyed quite a lot being tourists in Germany and visited every part of Europe and the Middle East that we could while we were there, and had wonderful opportunities to work with some of the finest people that I've ever known. That's not to say that people I've met outside of the military are not some of the finest people I've ever known, but there is that very important feeling of camaraderie that you have with the people you serve with. Just a little bit more about me, as the slide said. Some of my joys in life are my beautiful wife Sue, to whom I've been married for 52 years. We always like to tell people our little story. I met Sue on a blind date on a Friday before I was scheduled to leave for Vietnam on Monday. And that weekend we decided that we were matched perfectly for each other, and so we committed to marriage. When I got back from Vietnam a year later, within 6 days, I was married, and that was 52 years ago. We have to show you how the strength of an individual is in the people we associate with, and I associate with the strongest that you can imagine. We, in our life, have a grown daughter, and a son-in-law, and 2 beautiful grandsons. Also, I have a son and daughter-in-law and 2 beautiful granddaughters, and so they occupy a lot of our time. We spend a lot of time on I-35 between here and Dallas because that's where they all live. Rajesh acted a little surprised when he saw the model railroad coming up there. I've been into trains for my entire life, and I've accumulated a large collection of different kinds and sizes, particularly steam locomotives. When you look up there, it says G and N gauge. N is a representation of engines that are about 3 to 4 inches long, and I have a layout in my home office. The G gauge is what I have in the backyard of my house, and G stands for garden sometimes. An engine in G scale would be about 3.5 to 4 feet long. So if you want to talk trains, I'm your person. I think that pretty well exhausts my 5 minutes, but I certainly look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Would you talk about the stripes on, you know, when people see people with uniforms on, not everybody has stripes on their shoulder.
Those represent my tours in Vietnam.
And then Jim, what about these stripes? Those are the same as just a regular?
This is my rank. A couple of folks have recognized the color behind the rank is orange, which is the color of the signal cord. One of our colleagues up here wears red. I always liked red, but I didn't want to be in field artillery, but he can tell you about that when he gets up here. Also, I was a captain, which are the two, what we call railroad tracks up there. And it sort of fits into my theme of railroad through the end.
So Jim, you can now move up to, you have been upgraded to.
You passed inspection.
Okay, so let's go to the next one, please. Yeah, there'll be a harder test for Captain Jones. Okay.